I've actually been avoiding making this video. Not for any bad reasons. Largely because I don't like to talk about my emotions, right? Personal thing. I guess I'm a dude or whatever.
Hi, I'm making full pics.
I had alluded over the past couple videos that Jen was out of town for some stuff, but her father passed away a couple weeks ago. It was Pap Pap. Whoa, that's nice. All right. And it was hard. It was especially hard for Jen, right? That it finally happened. She got to be down there when he passed on. I debated over whether or not to bring my camera down to Pittsburgh to take pictures and video and stuff like that, but I knew it was probably the right thing for me to do when I knew that there would be all the family coming in, because that's where he's from, that's where Jen's dad's from. And the family would be coming in from the West Coast, from the East Coast, and coming down, and so I think we'd be thankful every now and then in the future to go back and look and see this video, because it's not often that everybody comes together. This video was, it was hard to film. I didn't have anything in particular any plan to it. I just tried to take pictures and videos of moments and places and times. We got to walk down memory lane, got to see where Jen's old house was, where she grew up, in her high school years, and the house isn't even there anymore. And it's this whole like surreal, very emotional weekend. And so we got to see her house where, well, not even her house, right? Her childhood house is gone, right? After they moved out of there, nobody ever lived in it again, and eventually got torn down, and now it's a parking lot next to a gym. And that's the thing about Larry, Jen's dad. He was from this small town. His mom, Grandma Mitchell, she's from this small town in Pittsburgh, and they've been there for many decades, and they knew people in the community, and so it was new for me, right? I don't have that quite as much. I've never really, the longest I ever lived in one place was maybe 10 years when I was younger. This is a new experience for me as a father, but it's been a lot to process as a father, as the father of a daughter. Seeing my wife, seeing Jen kind of go through the process, the grieving process, and seeing my little girl thinking about how she would feel if I were ever to pass on. So it's just new territory. And I mean, luckily I got to see some family, which was great. I love Jen's family, I love my family, I love seeing all the family together, and it's so much fun because we've all got kids that are older now and they can play together, and they're creating we talk about old memories, and our kids are creating new memories, and they may not understand, be too young to know why we're getting together, but they're playing and they're going to talk about those times, and there's just generations of family there. There was 1, 2, 3, 4 generations there. 4 generations of that side of the family, all in one place. And it was a good experience. Because the time flies, right? Time goes fast. I remember my grandfather's funeral when I was about 12. Not much. But I remember it was one of the few times that I saw my dad cry. And not that that's a bad thing or a thing at all. It's just a part of life. It's hard to process. It's harder for me, right? It puts things into perspective. I talk about perspective a lot. When I see, you know, Jen and what she has to deal with, and how my heart just aches for her and her family, and her mom and her brother. And then, you know, inevitably you're going to think about what happens in your own family. You know, as the time flies and we share these experiences with our kids, and we show them the things of our childhood, and we start to invest our lives and our hearts in them, and we see the shift from being the ones being taken care of to being the ones that have to take care. We're the caretakers now. We're no longer the children. And, you know, it makes me think about what I'm passing on to my kids, which is a good thing, right? We should think about that, and it's important. But honestly, as I see the memories, and I see a house that's no longer there, and I see a football field that Larry played on 40 or 50 years ago, that's got other high school kids playing on it now, and then this high school that they honor him.
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to take this moment to remember one of our Chartiers Houston family, Larry Mitchell. Larry was a member of the 1971 and 72 undefeated WEIAL champion football teams, and an assistant football coach here at Chartiers Houston in 1994. Sadly, Mr. Mitchell passed away earlier this month in Florida. If I could have everyone rise at this time, I'd like to honor Mr. Mitchell with a moment of silence, followed by the national anthem and the Chartiers Houston alma mater.
The reason that they did that is not because of, it's partly because he was on, you know, this amazing high school football team that won Pennsylvania State Championships back in the early 70s. But the school didn't reach out. It was the athletic director that knew someone that was friends of the family. And they were kind enough to reach out and say, hey, we'd like to honor Larry at the game. And we put a banner up, and they said some words, and it was very, very touching. And I think it would have meant a lot to him. But again, it wasn't because he did something. It wasn't because he was on that team. It's because of the people he loved, of the things that he did. And it really made me think. It was like the biggest mark most of us are going to leave on this world are not the things that we do, but it's the people that we love. And the impact you make on that person. Because in the grand scheme of time and the world and everything, you know, it's very rare that somebody's name is going to end up in a history book. But your name will always, you know, who you love and how you are with people will forever leave a mark. And so, with this video that I've avoided making, this is my way of saying thank you to Larry, and that don't worry about your little girl. I've got it from here. To my kids, I hope you guys get to see this video and kind of remember a little bit of your Pap and your family in that time, and know that we love you and celebrate life. And remember, it's who you love sometimes that matters most, and how you love them. Sometimes that's just going to be the biggest mark you make on this world, and that's not a bad thing, right? That's probably the best thing. You know, if you think about the great people you remember from history, sure, some of them were a leader or a conqueror or whatever, but there are also the Mother Teresas and the other folks who touched the world through people's hearts. And I think that's a legacy that Larry left that'll leave a mark. So here's to the celebration of life. That is Larry Mitchell. Rest in peace. We love you.
Where the white